So there is an interesting phenomenon that happens when you put like a group of crabs inside one bucket. So you drop them there. The thing that happens is that, you know, those crabs, as soon as one of them tries to exit the trap, climb to escape from the bucket, all his friends are gonna grab him and pull him down with them down in the trap. Even if it is a trap, even if they do not want to be there, as soon as someone tries to go out, they grab him and pull him down. Now, this is interesting because humans have the same psychology when it comes to success. Now, some of us, when we see people succeed, we tend to hate on them. We want to pull them down because we don't have the strength to rise up like they do, and instead of feeling, you know, inadequate about ourselves, what we try to do is we try to pull them down. So that's the psychology of haters. So today I wanted to talk about, you know, haters and how to deal with them, because this is a thing that impacts your self-worth as a musician. This is where self-doubt comes from, and this type of stuff is what stifles your creative growth, or your growth in general as a human. So it's a very important subject to discuss about. And I just woke up with a comment on Reddit that made me laugh. So there are three types of haters. The first one is the type of hater that I meant this morning on Reddit. So I posted my vlog like about how to get your music promoted in 2017, and lots of people loved it, right? And when you put something out there and it gets like very popular for some reason, you're obviously gonna get some nice comments, but there's always the haters who are looming there, waiting for a new good post to come up so that they can criticize it. So there was this guy who commented like a huge wall of text, starting with, yeah, this guy sucks, his music stinks, and he's got a huge bump in his head, he needs to explode. And I was like, what the fuck? That made me laugh, because that's the type of people who fall into the first category of haters, which are the less dangerous, because those people, you see them, they try to offend you, and you know, they're the people that when you post a song, they criticize it without giving you advice. Like, they sit on their high throne telling you, hey, this doesn't sound like music, this sucks, you suck. It gets very personal, right? And they never tell you ways in which you can improve the thing that they so announce that they're so great at, right? So you see them, you recognize them, and the way to do that is, if you get a comment like that, you can just go and check out, like, we're in the internet, so you can check out that person's profile, or, you know, the special SoundCloud and stuff like that. And most of the times you're gonna see that the profile is completely empty. Those people are nothing, literally. They just leave hate comments everywhere, and the reason why they do that is because they have no self-worth. And as soon as they see someone rising higher than them, they're gonna try to pull them down with the only weapon they have, which is meanness, pretty much. And if you have a bit of self-worth, doesn't work with you, you know? Like, it makes you feel pitiful towards them to see them act like that, because that doesn't bring people anywhere. Like, hating on other people like that doesn't make you better. It just makes you look stupid. So those are the first type, and they're just, I don't know, people in distress. So when you see comments like that, do check out the profile of that person and see what it is like. Today we're going on a little trip on Kamakura, which is a location here near Tokyo, and maybe I'm gonna show you a bit of those places, but I cannot record everywhere. Like right now I'm in the subway and I should not record this video, so I'm gonna continue later. Now, the second type of haters is a bit more difficult to deal with, because they're not people who hate you for real. They're people who are concerned about you. You know, maybe like when I was just starting out, I told my colleagues and family, hey, I would like to make music for a living, so that's what I will be focusing from now on. Like, I'm gonna be spending all my free time. And I even left my job, and this is something I'm not recommending you to do. I was in a particular position where I'm a freak, so I did that. I dropped my job to do music, and lots of my colleagues at that job told me, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You're not gonna make it. And my parents told me, no, you cannot do this, and they went to a pretty great extent to make me change my mind. to the point that our relationships got scared a little bit. So the thing is that the people who tell you you're not gonna make it, get real and stuff like that, are mostly concerned about you. They're your friends, your parents, and they're concerned about your future. They might think for real that you're not gonna make it because they think that maybe the thing you set out to do is too difficult and you're bound to fail, and they're worried for you. And though that's often the case, sometimes it's that they don't have much self-worth in themselves, so they think, hey, I would fail hard at this, so I think Alex too, if he tried it, he will fail, so I should tell him not to do it. So yeah, you should understand what level they're at, but mostly the thing about those second type is that they're mostly concerned about your well-being. Now, the way you can deal with them, and this is more dangerous because it's harder to dismiss this type of hate, because this is people like friends and family in your life that you want to go along well with, right? So, well, the way you can deal with this is only one. In my experience, it was to demonstrate my seriousness with achievement. So, in my first year of making music, like, I started from ground zero. I knew nothing, so it wasn't likely for me to gain some achievement because most of the time I was just trying to learn the basics of music production. So all the people, like all my friends, etc., were worried and stuff. But after my first year, I had my first break where one of my songs, which I posted on Audio Jungle, got featured like in BBC One program in television, like the BBC. And suddenly people were like, oh, you're great, we always believed in you, we knew you could make it. Even the people who told me you're never gonna make it, right? Because they saw the result. Now, this taught me two lessons. First, it's not like those people really hated me, but they were concerned that I wasn't gonna make it for real. But now that they saw me succeed, they weren't hating anymore. They were like, this is great, you should continue. So they just want to see, sometimes they just want to see you succeed. But the second thing that I learned is that you shouldn't care too much about the opinion of others, because it's so volatile, it changes so fast because of these little things. It's not as if like after my BBC thing I became super famous. It doesn't work like that. But for them, that was the point where I was at. So people often have a distorted view of our achievement. People often have a distorted view of our skills in general. So you shouldn't care too much about what they think about in general. The way you can solve this is just try to, as terrible as this sounds, maybe it's even bad advice, but it worked for me, try to not care about what they say in the beginning. If they're the second type of hater, your friends, your mom and stuff, they are worried, try to not care and tell them, I'm serious about this, just leave me be. Maybe you can even stop talking about the thing to those persons. Stop talking about your music dreams to your friends and family if they put you down, until you started to gain enough achievement that now you can talk about that thing without getting put down, but actually getting like encouragement from them because they finally understand you. The architecture of this place is insane, but I think I'm not sure about the Japanese culture, but maybe I'm rude by recording videos in public. I don't know, maybe I'm being rude. If you're a Japanese follower of mine, please let me know if it's normal to do this. I know vlogging, it's quite weird, but it might be even weirder in Japan because no one is doing it. But anyway, the third type of hater is the most dangerous one. And I want to be very careful about the words I choose on how to describe this, because I do not want to offend anyone. Because the third type of hater is often people you care about, while the first type of hater is not in the arena. Like, there are people who do not create stuff that they only hate. And the second type of hater is like your family and friends who are criticizing most due out of concern. The third type is something more dangerous. It's often maybe something more subtle that you cannot even understand it, but you do feel the impact of it without being aware of it. Now, the third type is that one friend that, you know, for example, I'm not name calling anyone, and I do not want to name call, so I'm not gonna make names, but there is this friend of mine with whom I worked. We worked together for a long time, and I love him still. Like, he's a great dude, and he's very successful. But the thing is that our career paths kind of diverged. So there was a period where we worked together many times, but after a while my interest started to change and I started this YouTube channel and stuff like that. I delved more into orchestral music while he kept making other types of music, so we couldn't work together on many projects anymore. Now, when this started to happen, I realized I felt a little bit of aversion from his part, because like when I started to make tutorials, which was something he didn't understand because he doesn't make tutorials, he doesn't understand why I like them. He started to criticize, but in very subtle ways, saying things like, hey, so you're gonna be a great tutorial guy now, like Seamless and stuff, but you know, Seamless has spent like 10 years studying every single day and he's great, like, are you sure you're gonna belong? So, you know, those type of comments that really get in your head and they get you thinking, am I good enough for this? That's where the self-doubt comes in. And it kept getting worse and worse. The more popular I was becoming on YouTube, the more dedicated I was becoming to this thing and doing here, the more aggressive he started to get. And I didn't notice his impact at first, honestly. But there was a period where I didn't hear from him for like 2 weeks or something. And then I heard from him again, and there I noticed, because the weeks without talking to him were super chill and I felt very less stressful for some reason, which I didn't understand. And by the moment he contacted me and told me like a few of his, you know, again, hate phrases or negative things, I really felt the impact, the difference it made. And that's when I started to understand that this person, who is my friend, was also a very bad influence. And the last things I remember him saying to me was like, when I started to do private lessons here for my YouTube subscribers, which are going quite well, he told me, oh, you're doing private lessons now? But are you doing them for free? And I'm like, no, I'm doing them, you know, paid, because my tutorials are already free and there is no time to do free private lessons as much as I would like to do that. And he's like, what the fuck? Man, you should pay, like, you have people pay to, you know, have lessons from you? Who do you think you are, man? You should probably pay them to teach them. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, that's how petty he got. And now that type of hate is often given by misunderstanding, often given by maybe even ignorance, because that friend of mine never made tutorials. He doesn't understand the passion of it. And instead of leaving me alone, doing my thing, he criticized me in the hopes that I said, oh yeah, you're right, I'm gonna go back and keep on working with you and ditch this YouTube thing. So those type of haters, like the third type, are often people who do reside in the arena like yourself, who do compose music, who have careers, who are successful, but do not understand you because maybe they're working on a different path, or maybe they started making music 10 years ago when things were different, so the way you do it now is different and they do not like that, they do not understand that. So instead of being curious and asking you questions about, hey, how does this work, they tell you what you're doing is shit, come back to do what we did before. Now, the danger of this is that this is the worst thing that stifles your growth, because as soon as you start experimenting, you know, those friends of yours might try to stop you and might try to put you in your place. Now, if I didn't start this YouTube channel, I'm not sure where I would be right now, because the moment when I started this channel, I was quite inside of a crisis and stuff like that, because I didn't like what I was doing anymore. I wanted to do something new, something fresh. That's why I started to make orchestral music and stuff like that. And while not every one of the people who I worked with before understood that, I think it was a very, you know, a very great blessing for me and for all the subscribers that I made and the subscribers that I'm going to make, because this is personally the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. You know, teaching stuff, inspiring people. That's what I always wanted to do with my music. And I would have never gone there if I listened to the first type of haters. If I listened to the first type of haters, I wouldn't ever have published a song. I wouldn't have even had the, you know, the self-worth to publish songs. I wouldn't have discovered that I could make into a great trader, a good trader musician and stuff like that. If I listened to the second type of hater, I would have never left my job, which means I would have never developed so fast as I did. And if I listened to the third type, I wouldn't have started this YouTube channel, which is one of the best things I ever made. So you see the impact of not listening to haters and stuff like that. That's a very important thing to do if you want to make sure that you're gonna have the best music growth that you can have, or the best growth as a person in general. So yeah, try to not get drawn by them, try to not get drowned by their comments and stuff. try to not listen to them, and do what passionates you, do what feels right to you. Not everyone is gonna understand that in the beginning, but you know, once you start to get your success and stuff like that, once things start happening, they're gonna start to understand. They're like that Pokemon Slowpoke, who understands things like with very huge amounts of delays. So they do not do this out of evil. They do this because maybe they do not have enough self-worth, maybe they're ignorant, or maybe they're worried about you. It's not about you, it's more about themselves. So you should just not care too much about what they say, because if you do, that's gonna decrease your self-worth and increase your self-doubt, which is gonna make your career stifled even before it begins. So those are the words of wisdom I wanted to share with you today. And yeah, now we're going to Kamakura with my friend Roland. Maybe I'm gonna shoot another vlog there. Maybe I'm gonna ditch this vlog because it didn't come out so nicely. But that was all for the haters and how to deal with them.